Jiro here for Umbra Games with a review of Gears of War Judgment, played on Xbox 360. The first of the series not to have its founder Cliff Bleszinski at the helm, Judgment takes place in the Gears timeline before the events of the trilogy. You and up to 3 friends can fill the boots of a team led by Damon Baird, the blonde guy we've seen off and on through previous games, as they tell their story to a COG tribunal, defending their decision to launch some heavy firepower against Command's wishes. Judgment, like the others, is a third-person, over-the-shoulder, cover-based shooter, where chest-high walls are a staple and a lifesaver. I'm trying to recall if we received any new weapons or features, as playing through 4 games in the series in this last year or so makes them all kind of blend together just a little bit. The Lancer and Longshot are here, as well as several other pistols and shotguns. There really isn't much innovation here from a combat perspective, as by now you either like the style of the game and it's simple run down a corridor, stop for a battle, go further down the corridor, stop for another battle, and so on. The game does offer unique story delivery, in that each of the game's chapters is narrated by one of the people involved. Each chapter is divided into 6 or 7 parts or so, and at the beginning of each you can locate the COG symbol on the wall and choose to add combat modifiers and what they call declassified information. As a character narrates, if you choose this option, they'll tell a little more about the situation, as in a specific one limiting you to use only 2 weapons from the Locust Armory, and the narrator saying, "I know we aren't supposed to use Locust firearms, but we ran out of options." Other challenges include low visibility, enemies having more powerful weapons, or having a time limit. So, while the delivery of the story is unique, the story itself just wasn't all that complex, but that's pretty par for the course in this series. Velcro and I were torn with the 5 to 6 hour campaign we played through on not wanting it to be too short, balanced with ready for it to be over. Once you complete each of the game's sections, you're evaluated based on headshots, explosions, executions you perform, and the number of times you died, giving you a ranking from 1 to 3 stars. To make it very difficult to reach that 3rd star without using the declassified modifier, as it increases your score at a tremendous rate. Your overall star score from the campaign is used to unlock an additional chapter called Aftermath, as well as some characters to be used in multiplayer. Some additional things to go for in the campaign are the usual kill tracking on a per weapon basis, or finding the game's collectibles, as you're rewarded with gifts that contain random weapon skins and eventually achievements. Judgment does do a couple new things to the Gears tradition, including the randomization of enemies in sections, meaning if you die you can't count on the same situation being presented. This keeps you on your toes a bit more. It also seemed in many places that cover wasn't always safe. Enemies were much more aggressive, forcing you to move from place to place to stay out of the line of fire. I think one place the Gears games have never really met with me, aside from the simplicity of level design, is a lack of gratification from shooting enemies. Without damage counters or life bars, in combination with the number of hits it takes to kill the majority of Locust minions, it just doesn't provide that immediate feedback that we receive from other games. The graphical standard the series established does carry on with Judgment. The architecture and environmental detail give you something to look at when you're kind of bored of shooting. Since I'm 4 years and 2 games late to the multiplayer show, in addition to not being particularly interested to the repetition involved therein, I have no capacity to make a judgment on the multiplayer features. So, having finally completed all the 360 generation Gears games, from a campaign perspective, I do find that Judgment doesn't reach what I find is the peak of the series in Gears of War 2, but hovers above the worn out, been there, done that feeling we got from 3, and not quite enough to hit the first impression Game 1 delivered. But if you are constantly looking for online cooperative campaign experiences, the unique story delivery and subsequent challenges, and the stage ranking of this game with the failure-changing stages, also featuring more aggressive enemies that you can take down with the majority of the same weapons and repetitive combat style that corridor cover shooting brings in its 5 to 6 hour campaign, then you can snag a copy of Gears of War Judgment fairly cheap these days. Rated as a third-person cover shooter, Gears of War Judgment hits a 59 out of 100, with 50 being an average game. This is Jiro for Umbra Games. Thanks for watching. Knocking out AAA series as often as possible, subscribe for more videos or follow me on Twitter @Umbra Games.